Hi, this is Steve. Welcome back to Scale Model Kit Review. In this video I continue to build the Ghostbusters Ecto-1 by Eaglemoss. I am on issue 8. Now in issue 8 we have 4 stages, stage 23, 24, 25, and 26. This video will focus on stage 23. Now this model is so big I had to reconfigure my bench top so that way the whole chassis could fit on it. It's huge. You wouldn't believe just how big this thing is. So with that, let's get started. Welcome back. This is the first stage for issue 8. So for this stage we will look at the entire magazine and then we will just look at the build for stage 23 in this video. So the rest of the stages will follow subsequently. Let's get started. Very thick magazine here, very high quality glossy pages. If you haven't done so already, head over to Eaglemoss and subscribe to this car today. It's fantastic and probably the biggest car that they've come out with so far. Also coming in January, late January, is the Eleanor from Gone in 60 Seconds. So stay tuned for that. That will actually be featured on my channel. So, like I said, these are the parts here that came with stage 23. It's a very large bag of parts. This is the back end of the car. It's going to make the car even longer. It's barely going to fit on my my bench here. So my bench is kind of small, and I'll just have to compensate for that. And moving on through, we have all the way up through stage 26 with this magazine. And this is what we do with stage 26 is we attach the rear chassis to the middle chassis, and we also install the fender liners and the shock absorbers. And we have a nice article here on Bill Murray, the legend of Wild Bill. Great photography here, great photos, nice little article there. Keeps continuing here, probably about 5 pages worth. And then the bathtub monster, they get into the former ILM effects wizard Ned Gorman. Tim Lawrence, Howie Weed, and Danny Wagner discuss the creation of Ghostbusters 2 Bath Time Beast. Very cool there. And then we have Gary Montalbano concept art. Very cool there for Ghostbusters 2. And lastly, Ecto 101, which is number 8 in the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency. So this gets into environmentally friendly age and the lonesome antagonist of Ghostbusters, Walter Peck. So, preview of what's up and coming in issue 9, which I have on hand, so stay tuned for that after I show you all these issues here, all these stages. So, let me get the parts out and we'll get started. And here's the parts for stage 23. Now this taking up about 2/3 of my bench, pretty large. And you can see everything is nicely protected. And I will go ahead and take everything out and we'll get a closer look at these parts as always. And here's a close-up of the part. We did receive the rear chassis metal, very large piece here. You can see by putting my hand up against it. We received the rear fenders, left and right rear fenders. The rear shocks, very long shocks there. and the shock bracket, the shock mount bracket. The screws we received is AP, CM, DM, JP, and LM. Let me get out the main chassis of the car. I want to show you some stuff on that, and then we'll get started with this build. In my introduction for stage 22, I think you probably noticed that under the chassis when I showed it to you that there was a lot of residue from the oil, from the Vaseline that I've been using to put this together. And you're right, there was a lot there, but it's easily removed with some isopropyl rubbing alcohol. It doesn't have to be 91%. I use 91% for my airbrushing because that's probably the most purest that you can buy off the shelf at your stores. However, it is kind of a shortage right now because of what's going on with the pandemic. But it cleaned up underneath the chassis very nicely. I just used a soft cloth and some alcohol. I rubbed very lightly because I don't want to remove the paint, and the oil came right off. So you can see also, if you'll notice, I have the chassis sitting on a styrofoam base that I made. I received some speakers in the mail the other day, and this is the box that this styrofoam came in the box for those speakers, and I just made it so I can hold up the chassis without messing up the steering wheel and the steering column that sticks out on the bottom, and the engine, so nothing gets touched. I can go ahead and work on it upside down because we're going to be installing a lot of the components for the exhaust system and all that here, and we're going to be working on it upside down quite a bit in this build. So I would recommend a little styrofoam, something you can make yourself to hold the model in place while you work on it. Now, it's going to get a lot longer. We got everything we're doing next is going to be added on to the back end here, so this is barely going to fit on my bench. Okay, I'll be right back and we will get started. Step 1. We attach the rear shocks to the rear bracket. Now if you look at the shocks, you can see it's got a little bit of a bend to it. That bend needs to go on the outside like that. Okay, and it's all plastic here, so just make sure you pay attention to that. If you go the other way, they're not going to be positioned correctly. We attach this with an AP screw. And I'm just going to leave it loose a little bit. Okay, moved it around where I can see it, and we'll put the next one in. I don't want it real tight. There we go. So we have a little bit of movement, and that's how that looks there. Let's move to step 2. Alright, so we're going to attach the rear bracket and shocks to the rear chassis, and this is a close-up of what the rear chassis looks like. And this is what the top of it looks like there, and this is what the bottom looks like. I know I didn't show this to you earlier. So this is the bottom side, and we're going to attach the shocks to that. Now the shock bracket itself has an alignment tab right there, and we have an alignment hole. It's going to go simply right back here and line right up on the bottom of the chassis. We are going to put in JP screws, and we have to do that on the other side. We're going into plastic. Put one in there. There's one. And last one there. So there we go. And my shocks are there, just like that. Okay, I'm going to put those down out of the way for the next step. Alright, step 3, we're going to fit the fender liners, and they are marked with an L and an R. So we have an L here on that tab and an R on that tab. So this is the left side, this is the rear end of the chassis, this is the left and right. Simply go in just like that. And we're going to be putting DM screws into this. And in order to do that, we need to lubricate those holes for the DM screws. Put a little Vaseline on those. This is the Vaseline I'll be using. Make sure I got the left one there. Perfect. And we put 3 DM screws into this. And I will do the same thing on the other side. And I'm not going to show it to you, but I'll do the same thing on the other side and I'll be right back. Step 4, we do a few things here. We're going to attach the rear chassis to the middle chassis. And it goes down on 6 spots here on the back of the chassis. Now I have already taken and lubricated those holes with my Vaseline ahead of time just to save some time. And this chassis just simply goes down just like that on top. And we put LM screws in, a whole bunch of LM screws. And we'll put the first one in. Put that in as tight as possible. And one more. Kind of hard to see. And all 6 screws are in. That's what that looks like even with the fender guards. Very nice. Now we need to flip this over and install stuff on the bottom. Now we have the rear frame that needs to get mounted on here, and you can see how that all looks there. The rear frame should go right on top, and we need to make sure our shocks feed through first. There we go. Make sure everything lines up onto the rear frame. Okay. We need to lubricate the frame. Right there. And all the points that mount on here. Looks like there's a total of 10 points. We'll go ahead and put this back down onto the chassis. Making sure our wiring, our hoses aren't in the way also. And we'll flip this over and we'll put CM screws in on the other side. And can you see that on the side camera? So I'm going to put that in first. And we got one more. And that is it. That's what it should look like. And I can't get this whole thing on the camera. And that completes stage 23. A blast building this. This sucker's huge now. We have the complete chassis assembled and added a bunch of more inches to the back. So if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell for all notifications. Head over to Eaglemoss and subscribe to this car today. It's fantastic and it's surely an investment. Happy modeling, everybody, and take care.